Okay. So hello everybody, here is Michael from New Left, and today we will be having a very interesting discussion about unions in one of the most prestigious union-wise countries on the planet, from Finland, and I have very interesting guests today. So Daniel, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, yes, I'm Daniel Valtakari, and I come from Finland. I work with the trade union for graduate engineers and architects, and we are representing approximately 80,000 members in Finland. We are one of the big unions.
Cool.
And our members are mostly on the master's level and work as professionals and managers.
Cool. So this will be, we will start with the big picture and then we will go into details. So the big picture is, what is the first question about the big picture is, what is and this is not only Finnish model, but Scandinavian models altogether, that you, for reasons that I hope you can explain, did build the biggest unions on the planet, not only in Finland, but everywhere. I mean, when we from Slovakia look at you at your 60 percentage points or 55 or whatever it is today, we with our meager 8.8 percentage points, you look like gods to us. So what did you do? How is it possible? How did you kind of withhold and withstand the neoliberal push against the unions? Because everywhere else, unions were destroyed more or less, but you made it. I mean, even in Finland it dropped, but not as dramatically as everywhere else. So what can you tell us about that?
Well, my first comment is, proudly, our union is growing.
Well, there you go.
So we are doing something the right way. And you had, Michal, a lot of questions. Let's take them one by one. First of all, when we talk about the Nordic model, all the Nordic countries have slightly different approaches, but what is in common is that the trade unions are a strong partner together with the employers. So we have constant discussions, talks, negotiations. We are negotiating collective agreements. We are also responding to the government request on different matters related to the labor market, the labor legislation, and so on. So we all do a lot of things together. And even when we disagree, we still talk with each other and we sit down at the table to negotiate and try to find solutions. And basically our society in all of the Nordic countries, Finland included, is based on a dialogue.
Okay, but this can be said about everyone. I mean, who's based on fight and hatred, no? There is something special about you. I don't know what it is, and I'm trying to find out. How did you approach it when neoliberalism came in the 80s and 90s? Did you withhold and withstand the push? Because the Brits, the Americans, whatnot, they all disintegrated.
I would say that we go like a century back, 100 years. And Finland just is typically a country where we do things together, whether it is part of your private life or it is part of your work life. We talk with each other. We try to find solutions. And in time, and especially since there were a lot of hard times after the Second World War, Finland was a poor country. It was an agricultural country that suddenly turned into an industrial one. So it required also to do things together. And probably I would say that's where in the 50s, 60s, including the 70s, Finland transformed and started to build up the society we have today. The political challenge, in my opinion, has come in the past 2 years. Now we have had a government with an objective of dismantling the achievements we have with the trade union movement achieved in the many decades. So, for example, our right to strike has been limited compared to what it was before.
Okay, this is interesting. I didn't know that. Can you give us more details? What exactly is the approach there?
The approach is that we used to have something that is called a political strike. So if we are unhappy with decisions from the government, or then we also had these solidarity strikes. Maybe the word is not correct, but it's describing that if in one sector we have problems with challenges with the collective agreement negotiations, then other sectors could join in a strike just to support that sector. However, now we have limits on this. So before you could go on with such strikes for a long time, but now they are limited, I think, to 1 day. And if we do strikes that are not according to the new legislation since 1 or 2 years, then there are quite significant fines as well and the liability. So we have gone back in time in this regard a lot.
Okay. How did it happen? Why did you kind of let it happen?
Well, we voted in national elections. We got the new parliament, and that new parliament just has a majority that
I imagine it are right-wingers, so it's not like the Socialist Party suddenly.
No, they are in opposition. So yes, we have a government with enough power. I mean, we have 200 delegates in the parliament, and I think
say again, I didn't catch it. 200 or 100?
200.
200. Okay.
Yes, and the government with 4 parties in the government, they hold a small majority, but it's enough to push through also legislation that the workers are not happy with.
This was, how is it called? This was a simple law, or this was a constitutional law that you had the right to? Simple law. Okay.
Law. Yes, simple majority is enough to make things like this.
Okay, but on the other hand, if times change, then you can bring it back, I imagine, when it's just a simple
law. If you allow me a few minutes.
You have all the time in the world. This is interesting because the solidarity strikes was something I wanted to discuss, and when now you're telling me that it's not possible anymore, then I'm like, oh, all right.
It's practically impossible. There is a slight chance, but anyway, the Finnish political system on national level is such that we have parties of different size. So we have the big ones that usually have support between 15 and 20 percentage points. Then we have the medium size that are around 10, 15. And then we have the small ones that are usually below 7 or 8. And in order
Sorry to jump in, because every country has a slightly different setup. So to get into the parliament, there is a threshold, or is it like in Holland that you can have 1.2% and you are in?
You can have the 1.2.
Okay. Yeah. Because, for example, in Slovakia, there is a threshold of 5%. In Austria, there is a threshold of 4%. In the Dutch countries, in Holland, there is no threshold whatsoever. So only one MP is possible. So in your system, that's the case as well.
Yeah.
One MP and you are in, and you can just, be there, the beer party or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reality is that if the political party doesn't get enough votes, then it just can't get anyone into the parliament. So even without the threshold, we have a lot of small parties that never get, really small parties that never get a seat in the parliament. However, my point is that in order to have a majority government, we have three big parties and you need two of them at least. And it means that if two of those big are now in the government and they remain big, and just as an example, one of the big opposition parties would become a member of the government, we still would have one party that has been doing what they did, reducing the rights of working people. So it's not that easy to think that they would go back, they would backtrack on their own decisions. And this is what makes it the more difficult, because once they have made something like this, they can just hang to it.
Got it. But still, the hope is there because the system looks more inclusive than in many countries when there is not this threshold. And financially wise, everyone gets some support from the government. And is there a threshold for the support, or the more votes you get?
That has also changed.
Okay.
That has also changed. So also our social welfare system with the different benefits has been reduced. So there are fewer benefits. The level of the benefits has gone down. And also the criteria to get the benefits has become stronger. So it means that people who are not earning money, they are not working, it's more difficult for them. And also people who are working in jobs where the income is very low, they also suffer more, because if they can not pay the rent before they would be supported, they are still, but there are harsher limits now. Also on our healthcare system, there are impacts. So the funding of the healthcare system has been reduced. Our educational system has unfortunately...
This looks like bloodbath, Daniel. So the big question is, yes, they were transparent about this strategy? People voted really, hey, we want to suffer?
No.
Please lay it on us.
No.
The more pain, the better.
At least for me, most of these things that I now describe were a surprise.
Okay.
We knew that some of these parties leaning more to the right had an agenda or had a wish to do changes of this sort, but not that they would be this harsh, the changes, and not that there would be so many of them. So I didn't at least expect the situation to be this grave.
Against the social standards of normal Finns, this is the biggest attack since you can remember, or?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
So how was it possible? How is it possible? Why exactly now? What changed?
What changed was that, like I said, we used to have three parties that are bigger than the others. But one of these dropped down and another came into its place. That is on the political chart to the right. And now we have two parties at the right that found themselves and could join forces and do this.
So it was like a perfect storm of shit, yeah? For reasons that are complex, suddenly there were these parties in power and there was no one to stop them, so they implemented. Yeah, and okay, the big question is what are the things thinking? Because obviously they were voting for those parties, but I hope that they are regretting their choices.
Well, at least looking at the polls, the current situation is that the Social Democrats that lost the last elections and went into opposition, they seem to be leading the polls at the moment. The moderate party that is to the right, but not to the extreme, they always keep approximately the same level of support. And then there is a variation with the rest. So they fluctuate up and down week by week. So what will happen in a year or so, and when the next elections come, I cannot predict.
Mm-hmm. No, that's okay. I just, whether the mood shifted radically or whether only slightly, because when it moved radically, the hope is that it will be changed back. When people like suffering,
I would say that on the general level, there is probably a slight change of the mood. Mm-hmm. But different people, for some people, it has been a complete turn 180 degrees, so they absolutely don't want to vote anymore like this. For other people, they are happy for whatever reasons there are. So I'm not expecting too big changes in the next elections. Maybe the government will look different, but whether that will affect finally the changes that have now been made, I wouldn't dare to make a guess. We just need to see.
I hope that the change, usually the change comes from A, Germany, or B, France, or C, America, that those countries can reawaken, because I imagine the push to the right that you are describing now is kind of like a synergy with everything that's going on in the Western civilization altogether, that the Finns are not as right-leaning as they show themselves to be currently in the last 2 years, or maybe they are. I don't know. The society. So tell me.
Maybe actually we can compare with Sweden, because Sweden is like the big neighbor, brother to us, and on the Swedish political chart, there is a party that is most to the far compared with the others. We have a similar one, but that one in Sweden, it's actually not even in the government. But without that party, the government cannot function. So actually they have a lot to say. The difference between Finnish politics and Swedish politics is that in Sweden they have blocks. They have 2 major blocks, and this one party is not part of either one, so they can withdraw their support or they can give the support. They are in a very strong position. In Finland, we have a lot of parties, we have coalitions. In the history, we have had governments with up to 6 different political parties from left to right and back, and they have been functioning quite well. So by this example, I just want to share that there might be changes, but probably the changes will not be too dramatical.
Okay.
Either way.
Questions for my understanding that I have is that the political kind of way of doing business in Finland altogether, when you look, at the history, was it more like in America or some other countries, that you had a right-wing government and you have a left-wing government, and it was like a swing, or was it more like stable and for decades?
More like stable.
Okay.
Yes. So we could have the moderate right party, the center party, the Social Democrat Party in different combinations, and then also the small parties in different combinations. The politics in general, in my opinion, were still quite stable and just fluctuating a little bit left, little bit right, but nothing dramatical. It's only the past 2 years with this government that we currently have that we have had such
so paradigm
big
change, basically.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So let's dig deeper. What exactly happened in Finnish society in the last, I guess, 3 or 4 years? So that something of that magnitude that you are describing now, because it looks really like a political earthquake, that something of that magnitude could happen. Was it a war in Ukraine, or some fears that the Finns have, or I guess multiple reasons? But what is your theory?
I would go back to 2015 when we had a big wave of immigrants also in Finland.
What does it mean, big wave? Like hundreds of thousands, million? What is it?
No,
roughly, you don't know. Tens of thousands. Okay.
Tens of thousands, because before that we had like a couple of thousand per year. Finland, unlike the other Nordic countries, we have not that many immigrants and used not to have that many. Language is different. Climate is very cold, so people don't like the cold.
For understandable reasons, when you are from Africa or Middle East, and Finland isn't like the first choice, I guess. Yeah.
But that was when most European countries had a lot of immigrants. And at the same time, we happened to have a political party with a leader who was, he could speak, even if we don't like what he said, but he could at least speak. And suddenly, boom, his party grew. And that is now, after some internal changes, meaning that that leader is no longer even member of the party. There are other leaders. However, they grew and they could find a position where they could start influencing on the daily
That's the radical
politics.
Right party, I imagine that you are describing. Okay. Did this Sprout Finns, or what is the name of that party?
The True Finns.
True Finns, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we need to understand.
And sorry to jump in. So that's the party that has this 15 or 20 percentage points now. That's the one that grew.
At the moment, I think they are around 15, 16 at the moment.
And they are in government, and they are the party that pushed the agenda that you are describing now.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. And then a couple of years ago, people were maybe disappointed with the other government parties. Maybe they wanted to have a change. There might be a lot of reasons, but the end result was that then the True Finns and the moderate party is a right party, but not just, let's say, ordinary party to the right, a traditional one. So they ended up in the same government with two very small parties, but enough so that they have majority in the parliament. And then we have the situation we have today.
So basically, it was the war in Syria and the turmoil that Americans caused that you have to kind of suffer from. Okay.
I would say, like, people were not used suddenly to have so many people they were not familiar with, they were not used to, and then some people took advantage of that, also political advantage.
Understandable question. How did you tackle the situation? Because this is a discussion I'm having internally here in Vienna with folks, because I live in a Bezirk, in a part of Vienna that is one of the Muslim minority. It's not even a minority, I think. It might be that they are hitting the 50 percentage points. And the approach of Austrians was, in my opinion, suboptimal, because they let the refugees to settle down wherever they wanted, which means that for understandable reason, they created, okay, it's not a ghetto, but it's kind of, they come together. That's just, I can understand that. But what it causes is that when the different culture is really strong in that region or area or whatever, then obviously the management is harder. And B, because that was the approach of them, and I can understand it, but the government did nothing against it, or very little, to not be too blunt. They didn't distribute them through the country. That means that big chunks of the country don't ever have seen a foreigner. Okay, sometimes, but no one is really living there. And that's the social psychology of humans. When you don't know it, you fear it. And I guess because this is in Austria the big problem nowadays, and in Germany as well, they didn't tackle the situation very well. And now we have the strongest support for right-wing and even neo-Nazis in the all of European Union in Austria. sounds a little bit like Finland did suboptimal job as well, with tens of thousands of refugees. In the reality, it wasn't a big challenge, but we made it a big challenge because of the suboptimal management.
Yes, it probably wasn't that big, but again, like I said, some politicians took advantage of the situation to drive their own agendas. Actually, quite many of the people who came in 2015 left quite soon, partly because of, one big reason was the climate. They just don't like it. Even today, it's -15 outside, and we are in the southern part of Finland. Up north, it can be -40. If you are not used to it, you don't like it. Then one big challenge is that we have the biggest unemployment in the European Union at the moment.
Okay.
Yes.
About
yes,
10%, I guess, then, yeah?
Yes, 10%. Okay. Spain just went below the 10%, but we are still there. And then we have people who are unemployed.
Sorry to jump in, because this is important information. So, and this took a couple of years, or this is for decades the case that Finland
for the
is
past
dancing?
Years. Yeah,
okay, so after 2015, it spiked to this above 10%.
Yes, and I wouldn't say spiked, but it has been a development going up and down. But at the moment, we are hitting the 10%
okay,
mark.
Sorry to hear that. Now, being the worst isn't exactly where you want to be, huh?
No, and then I think it's easier to understand that some people are envious. They don't like when other people come and sort of steal their jobs. This is what quite many think. It's probably not true, but we are talking about emotions and feelings.
The big question is, how many refugees do you really have? You said tens of thousands. So what is the number altogether? You know, roughly, you know, it's 100,000 or what is it?
I cannot say. I really don't know.
Okay.
And
but roughly like 100, 200, 300, what is the number? Because I can tell you for Austria, it's 700,000 and it's roughly 8% of the population. And in the part of Vienna that I live in, I told you literally like 50% of the people are Muslims. So I mean, nothing against them. It's just, that's the fact of where I'm living. That's why my flat was so cheap, because
I still don't want to give any number, but we are far below what you describe in Vienna or Austria, far below. And also depends on in which part of the country you are. So in the southern of parts of Finland, in the big cities, yes, we have more people with foreign background, just because that's where we have housing, that's where we have also the infrastructure that they can use. Some of them are living in areas where they are maybe not the majority, but they are still a large number of the population. But if you remember at the same time that Finland is the 5th largest country in Europe by area, and we are only 5.6 million. So we have vast areas with practically no inhabitants. So it's not like you tell somebody go and live there in another place if there is nothing, not even local transport, no workplaces for them. And at the same time, I want to highlight that we have, for example, areas in Finland that are producing vegetables with greenhouses. In those areas, we have a lot of people who have come, for example, from Asia. They are used to work in humid and warm conditions, like in the greenhouses, and unemployment is zero. There are no unemployed people because they have found the place in the society, and there is a demand for the work that they are doing. So they are really doing well. And to my understanding, they get really well along also with the Finnish neighbors. So yes, we have places and areas in Finland where things are going really smoothly, and then we have other places where there are much more challenges.
Mm-hmm. So again, the question, how did you tackle the situation? Because that's something that I was describing, that we kind of let it be and run its course without any major management. Okay, there was some, but nothing of that sort that the situation demanded, so that what you are describing, what I am describing, wouldn't happen, because we in Austria have the highest neo-Nazi support in all of European Union, and you, after decades of relative stable politics, suddenly have to suffer through the consequences that you were describing. So obviously there were mistakes made, yeah?
For certain. But the point is that we can judge that now, not 10 years back.
No, well, obviously, but always with mistakes is that, yeah, you realize you made a mistake, and B, you fix it. If you are able to admit that you made a mistake, and that's the big question, because that's a discussion we are having here, and I am having with folks here, that the admittant situation, admittant part of the whole shebang didn't happen yet. Yeah, people still kind of neglect and deny that they made mistakes.
Well,
and everything that falls on us with the neo-Nazis and everything is just somehow, you know, like life is hard. Yeah, but that's childlike approach.
Yes, but I will challenge you a little bit on the part of fixing. On fixing. Yes, when people came in larger numbers, 2015, slightly after that, the society and the government, they welcomed the people. They organized emergency housing and then long-time housing. They organized financial support, the benefits, everything that we could say is civil and proper. Still, maybe the outcome was not exactly what we expected as a society. So a lot of the people who came, they could still not find their place. They could not find jobs. Language is difficult, professions to work. It's not easy to find work here. And then changes were made. And this is where I challenge. We might believe it is a fix, but maybe we will have to see that also after a few years. Was it a fix or was it a new mistake?
Yeah, but if we continue down this path and pretend that this is the best we got, then you know, Hannibal ante portas, yeah, and we have neo-Nazis in the parliament. They won the election here in Austria, so by slight margin, don't we have neo-Nazi premier minister?
Yeah, but let me continue. So the current government, they made changes, not fixes, but they made changes. And for example, for a Finnish citizenship, now you have to wait longer than earlier. Also, the benefits have been reduced, like I already said. And then we have new legislation that we didn't have previously, that if you are not a Finnish citizen and you don't have the permanent residence permit and you cannot find a job within a very short time, I think it's like 3 months, then you are out of Finland.
Okay, and where do you go?
That's the question.
Oh, well, someone should ask the question.
Yeah.
To your neighbors, or you just push the people out like the Germans try to push people out and Americans are doing now, obviously?
Well, not in that way. But people cannot remain.
Okay.
So this is a challenge. At the same time, we are offering very high quality education to people from other countries, both from the European Union. And please note that education is free of charge in Finland, even for, let's say, Austrians or Slovaks, anyone from the European Union. And for people who come from outside the European Union, you have to pay, but it's still much less than it is, for example, in British or US universities.
So it's still subsidized. It's kind of like,
it's
some percentage points of the real price.
I think to study at the university, I think it's like 10,000 euros for a study year. The size, it's not like 50,000 or 100. Yeah.
No, it's not like people are in debt like in America because they have to borrow $100,000 just to study. That's the average, I think.
I'll come back to the debt part. But anyway, we offer this education, but at the same time, we could make much better in offering jobs, or at least the possibility to remain in Finland after you have graduated here in the country in the Finnish system. And then you could have more time to look for work. Actually, part of my personal work is to talk to people who come from abroad on how to look for work in Finland, how to apply for work, because also the system is different. It's not like in India or the US. You write the cover letter slightly differently and so on. But then about the debt, one issue that has been in the Finnish news media at the end of last year was that we have companies, a couple of them, that are actually advertising and selling services to people in Asian countries to come to Finland to study. They promise that you'll get a good diploma, you will get a job, and then people take a loan, or they sell property they have in Nepal, in India, in other countries, and they come to Finland, they finish the money because it's quite expensive. It's more expensive than Austria to live here. And they have a lot of debts, and they still can't find a job, and they have to return home. And that's when the real problem starts.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Well, that's and this is kind of like I mean, it borders on legality, these companies, or this is totally fine that you have these vampires in your society who, or is it I don't know. I mean, it didn't sound very nice that they take the money and.
Yeah, but they are companies, both Finnish and also local companies. In the news that I was reading, it was mainly about Nepal and India, and it's not true what they are promising. Nobody can make a promise like that. But
they can, make but it's business. A lie. They know that they are lying. They know that they are leading them astray. They just want their money, it sounds, no?
Exactly.
Okay, so how will you tackle it? Because this is kind of, some of your co-citizens are taking advantage of poor people and misinformed people in other countries. And then, yeah, it's not exactly 10,000 euros time, I don't know, 1,000 of these students. That's 10 millions. That's money.
Not that much, but still we are talking about probably hundreds of people. But even one who has been misled and has lost his fortune and his family's, it's too much. I don't know what can be done, and I don't know about
regulation.
The government.
You can't make promises you can't keep. That's just.
Yeah, but then somebody has to challenge you and take you to court, and that's not happening. Not here, at least.
Okay, so let's come back to the proper discussion about the Finnish union. So this was something I didn't expect. So that's because I didn't. Sorry, I have to admit I don't speak Finnish. I didn't know this about Finland. That the right-wing change was this dramatic. So let's talk about the Finnish unions from a bigger picture now. Sorry to hear what happened, but still you are among the best unions on the planet. And I want to start with something that when I was kind of preparing and we were having a forward discussion about this, the unions in Finland are set up differently than, for example, in Austria. In that sense,
Yes.
that here in Austria we have only seven union associations. You in Finland, as far as I know, what you told me, are dancing around 80. And when I heard it, I was mega surprised, because usually the approach in unions is to come together, because together we are stronger. But the Finnish model seems to kind of go in a different direction. And this is exactly the question I have. How come that it's working? Because I always thought as a trade unionist that you have to come together to be stronger. But you Finns, there is something special in the air. You don't do that, and it's working better than the other countries. So why?
We do it, but we do it indifferently. So let me explain first how the unions are organized, individual unions. We have, first of all, we have 3 levels. We have blue collar, then we have white collar, and then we have white collar, professional, and managerial. So the difference is that for the white collar, professional, and managerial, that is usually minimum master's level or beyond.
You have to have the degree, or
yes.
Okay, you have to have the degree, because
so
you know sometimes managers are just smart and they don't have any university degree. I mean,
we have
all the big ones are, you know, like that in America, and that's actually the other approach, not to have the degree. When you have the degree, then you are kind of tainted. So you have to have the degree in Finland to be in that.
But of course we have considered, and we have also on the professional and managerial level, we have a couple of unions where even if you don't have the formal degree, but you have the position, you can be a member.
Okay.
So starting from the blue collar unions, we have unions according to profession. So if you are an electrician, you are a plumber,
Sorry
or
to jump
you are
in,
a nurse.
just to create something in my mind and for the listeners. So you have 80 unions. They are divided.
We have a lot.
No, but the associations, and they are divided roughly 30 percentage points, or how is it divided, this 80 in this whole structure of these 3 layers?
Approximately equally, because if you allow me to continue,
please,
you will get the number.
I just wanted to kind of 25, 25, 25. Okay,
so,
got it.
Yes, so roughly one third of the workforce are in blue collar unions, and the blue collar unions, they have a federation, SAK. And then we have the white collar unions, where you are working in white collar professions. You have assistants, you have technicians, other people, and they have a federation as well, STTK. And then we have the white collar professional and managerial level, also with a federation, which is called Akava. And now inside the groups, so for example, my union, we are in this Akava group, we work together. So when we have collective agreement negotiations, not all of our unions go to negotiate, but instead we decide that in this sector, it's your union, in that sector, it's my union, and then we share the responsibility and the work. So we work together. However, on the white-collar professionals and managers level, the membership in the unions is based almost 100% on the education. So if you are an engineer on master's level, or architect, then you are our member. If you are a medical doctor, there is a union for medical doctors. If you are a lawyer, there is a union for lawyers, and so on. And now looking at the entire trade union movement in Finland, we don't have unions that are competing with each other, because there is a union for every purpose. And and they are non-political. Since quite many years, our unions...
Non-political unions are political by their essence, but
they are not
affiliated. No?
Yes, no party affiliation, no religious affiliation. Of course, individual members in the board and representing the voice of the members, they can have any preferences they want, but the trade union itself is, so to say, neutral. It's not politically affiliated. It can be cooperating, which is quite understandable, but that's different. So it's not like in some European countries you have a trade union that is practically a part of a political movement or a religious and so on. And this also explains to a large extent the high unionization degree. Again, I will use my own union as an example. If you want to study to become an engineer at the university, already the first day when you start your studies, you can become a member in the union. As a student, you don't have to pay any fees. So you have a free of charge membership, or maybe some other unions, they have like 10 euros a year or something like that. And you become familiar with the union. The union, our union, for example, we are very, very strongly supporting the students by giving financial and other means to the student organizations, supporting them with advice if they want. And so there is a lot of cooperation. And then when people graduate and they get the degree, they become engineers. Then they continue as members because this is what they have been doing during their entire time of study. And the only change is that now they start paying the membership fee, and they start using the services.
By the way, the membership fee, it's the usual 1%, or is there another approach?
It's different. Usually it is a percentage, but again, in my union, it is a fixed price around 350, 370 euros, including the fee for the unemployment fund. And to be honest,
and never mind what your salary is? Okay.
Yes. So actually, for our members, the fee is really cheap compared with other unions.
Why is it in percentage? I always like the percentage approach because it's more objective. You have higher salary, you pay more, but at the end of the day, it's always the same percentage point.
This is what our members have voted for, so they seem to be happy.
I'm not. This is exactly the discussion I want to have, because you do it differently, and I want to know why, when it happened. That's another question I had. So this system that you are describing, you are carrying over from 19th century, 20th century, mid of 20th century, when it kind of, the dust settled down that this is the way we do things in Finland.
Actually, in March, our union will celebrate 130 years.
Okay. And more or less, this is the approach as you are doing it for 100. Okay. I mean, obviously, small tweaks here and there, but okay.
We are older than the Finnish nation, than Finland.
Well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And this 1 percentage point that we were discussing, this is the approach of all the unions in Finland?
No, it's different. It's different. Some unions, a lot of unions have the percentage system for the fees.
Majority whether it is, out of these 80?
I think yes.
Okay.
I believe that. So for many of them, it's probably between 0.8, 1%. There might be different different
Yeah, but
fees.
roughly this
And
1 percentage point. I mean,
yeah.
it's not like written in stone, but roughly
Yeah.
that's, you know.
And here we have an interesting point, because I mean, if you pay a percentage of your income, not all people are, I put it nicely, aware of what they should pay. So to make this easier, in the collective agreements, we have a clause that says that actually the employer takes that fee from the salary and gives that fee directly to the trade union. So you only say that you are a member in a certain trade union, and then they check, the employer, I mean, they check how much you
In
should
general,
pay.
it's not secret that you are a member of the union, or are there some exceptions?
It's confidential information. I mean, I'm not allowed to say who is our members.
Okay, obviously
but,
but when the employer knows, because, well, that's the way.
Because if the person tells the employer, then it's a choice of that person.
Okay, so you can pay it via your employer, or you pay it directly to the union. That's the choice of that particular person. Okay, got it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Another question that I had about the structure of the unions, because what popped into my mind is that when you have these 3 layers, and every layer is kind of responsible for a certain pocket of the workers, what about big companies? You know, companies that really go through all the 3 layers. Who's actually negotiating there? So you have multiple layers and multiple negotiations?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and multiple collective agreements as well.
Okay.
And most of our collective agreements are sectoral. So we have, for example, for the chemical sector, we have a collective agreement, but it can be on the 3 different levels. We only have a few exceptions where we have company-wise collective agreements, because we only have one company, like our Finnair, the Finnish flight company, or the postal office, because we only have one postal office, and so on. But otherwise, we try to have the sectoral agreements. And nowadays, the collective agreements, of course, also consider the possibility that inside one sector, companies can be in different situations. Somebody is better off than somebody else. So there is room also for local negotiations. But basically, the collective agreement for the sector is the lowest level, and anything else comes on top of that.
So the employees and the members of that union, if there is the need, or if they feel the need, they can kind of renegotiate from the basis something extra if they feel like they deserve it for whatever reason. Okay, got it.
Yes.
And now for these 80 unions, roughly, all the unions are like centralized. There is a headquarter, I imagine, somewhere in Finland, depending on the history, I imagine. When you said that you have 130 years of existence under your umbrella of your union, then might be that some unions were created somewhere, God knows where, and they are there because that's the tradition. So it's like spread all around Finland, the union headquarters, or it's centralized in Helsinki, or, you know, how is it set up?
The majority are in the capital area in Helsinki, but we have some actually quite significant unions, at least a few, with headquarters outside of Helsinki.
And you have your local offices? I mean, now stupid question, because I don't know it. How is Finland actually set up? So you have your local governments, or everything is centralized, or and the unions kind of like mirror what the political setup is, or how do you approach it?
It's more like what is the practical possibility. So, for example, my union, you are a member directly in the union. And we have 4 or 5 regional offices scattered around the country. But then we have other unions where actually you have local clubs, and you become a member in the local club, and then the local club is a member in the union.
Okay.
So there are differences. And if you have the system with local clubs, then of course you can have one in Turku, you can have one in Rovaniemi, and they are independent organizations. So they are registered independently, but then they become members in the national union, whatever that union is.
And you are sharing the premises with other unions to make it cheaper?
Some unions share.
Okay.
Other unions, they want to have their own premises. My union, our premises for the regional offices are in connection with universities, because that's where we have the students, that's where we have a lot of our members, and also because it is a place of easy access for everyone. But we have other unions, they have their own offices, even their own buildings, depending on how big unions they are. Yep.
Another question that popped into my mind, because we are structured as you were describing, I imagine obvious example is agriculture. You don't do much agriculture in Helsinki. I don't think that balconies on Helsinki are just, the ground plot for agriculture. So I imagine that the unions are kind of where the workers are. So agricultural workers tend to be in the villages, I imagine, yeah, and more on the other hand, the engineers are centralized in bigger cities. So you kind of go where the workers are. That's how it's set up in Finland, I imagine. Tell me otherwise.
Well, I'm a city boy, so please, I'm
Who
not
isn't?
an authority on agriculture. However, like I said, most of the offices are in the Helsinki area. Then there are to various extent, there are regional offices or regional officers who travel and go to the different regions. And again, where we have a lot of people, we go there, we meet with them, we talk with them. But also in this respect, times have changed. It's so easy to send an email. It's easy to talk on Zoom or just make a phone call. It's not like 50 years ago when people actually had to go somewhere and talk with other people.
Another question I had, okay, new company is created and founded in Finland. How does the union actually emerge? What are the first steps, the baby steps when a union should be created? I just, as an example, here in Slovakia, where we are doing the union or running the union, we need 3 employees in that particular company to come together. The law of the unions is kind of mirroring the civic associations pretty, perfectly. So civic associations have at least 3 people, unions have at least 3 people. What is the approach in Finland?
We don't have that, really.
No, that's why I'm asking, no?
Because we have, like I explained, we have the unions that are based on profession or education. It doesn't matter if we have new companies. If we get a new company, we already have the unions, and people are or become members in the union, and then they are represented in the company. You don't have
anyone locally? Like it is at least one person should be there. I mean, that's what I'm asking, no?
It's not the union. What we have is that we have union representatives like shop stewards. So we don't have works councils like we have in Germany or Austria, but we have shop stewards. And according to the collective agreement, the shop steward has to be a union member.
Otherwise, and the approach, he has to be a member, and is he kind of like freed from these daily duties, or he does his job,
depends.
Or partially?
It depends.
Or...
It depends. It depends on how many people he's representing. If he's representing 20 people or 200 people or 1,000, it's a different demand on how much time he needs
now,
to use.
representing, in a sense, they have to be members of the union, or is the company size that matters?
company size,
Okay.
and also how many people the person is representing, because he is actually representing everyone that belongs to his group. So if we have let's say a company and we have all three layers, blue collar and both white collar groups, then the shop steward for blue collar workers is representing only blue collar workers. And then there is a shop steward for each of the other groups. And if it is a big place, maybe there is what we call a head or main shop steward. And then there are additional shop stewards to take care of different divisions or different parts of the company, because this one cannot, he's not available to all of the employees. And also some companies, they are not like in one place, but they can have facilities all around Finland. So then even if there is one main shop steward at the different facilities in the different regions, we can have additional shop stewards. And this is what can be negotiated first through the collective agreement, and then the collective agreement defines also how it can be negotiated on company or employer level. It can be also municipality or government workplaces. Then on that level, they can decide how many additional shop stewards they will have.
In Slovakia, I don't know about Austria, I don't know the law there, we are running the union in Slovakia, but in Slovakia, for every employer, you have 15 minutes as a shop steward, as you were describing. So the bigger the company, the bigger the time is that is kind of given to you to do your union work. How is it set up in Finland? Is there some general rule that from this size you will get this full shop steward job, and from that side not yet, or is it every case is different, or what's the approach?
Every workplace is different, or every employer is different. I have never heard about this kind of minute system in Finland. However, I know that we have, especially with blue collar and white collar group, not the professional managers, but the other white collar group, that they have in many, many places main shop stewards that are freed from daily work, and they only do the shop steward work. And even if they are not freed from the shop stewards from all of the work, it is still taken into account how much they need to use time to help the other employees, the colleagues. And then, of course, we have special situations. For example, there are negotiations to reduce the workforce. In that kind of situations, the shop stewards that are negotiating, they are freed from work, because then they have to focus entirely on the negotiations. So it depends case by case.
Okay, got it. Another big topic I wanted to discuss with you is the drop in the unionization, and what are your explanations? Because I was looking literally few seconds back at the recent data from OECD, and supposedly the penetration in Finland is 51.4 percentage points. And well, it's better than 8.8 in Slovakia and most European countries, but it did drop from like what, 80 or something of that magnitude a couple of decades back. So what is your theory? Why are people not joining union in such droves as they used to?
Now I speak purely out of personal perception.
Please do.
I think that times change. So the older generation, my generation, we are used from the beginning to be trade union members. It's part of our existence. But we have younger generations that feel differently. and they maybe don't see the advantage or the necessity of being trade union members. And then also, if they are changing workplaces and they are not members in a union based on educational membership, but it's more like what kind of work you are doing. So today you are working as a nurse, tomorrow you are working in the shop and selling goods. Then actually you need to be a member in a different union. So there are different reasons. And one reason that we are worried about is that the government we have now, one thing that it did was that before we could have a tax deduction. The trade union membership fee could be deducted from the taxes. But since 1st of January this year, no longer.
Mm-hmm.
And
what was the deduction? What is a significant sum of money? So there was a motivation to
yes,
be in the union because in the end it paid for itself.
Not completely,
not fully, but like half
yes.
of it or something like that.
No? Technically, it is so that if you earn, let's say, 20,000 euros a year, this is imaginary, but you earn 20,000 euros and you pay a certain percentage. We have a progressive taxation in Finland. Then you could deduct your trade union fee. So if you paid for the year 1,000, this is just fictive.
No, it was 200 now, but it's 1% point. 20,000, 2,000,
okay, let's say
200 euros. No?
Okay, 200 euros. So then instead of paying tax on 20,000, you pay tax on 19,800.
So fully deductible, okay.
Yeah, it's fully deductible, but actually the money you get back is equal to the how much tax you have paid. So if you pay to 200 euros membership fee, then your taxation will go down really a little bit. And from the 200, maybe you save 50, 60 euros.
Okay.
So not all of the money.
By the way, the taxation in Finland, because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know whether you know it, but this is something I didn't speak with any Danes yet about it, but I want to do that because supposedly they are the only country in European Union that have a different tax systems that all the rest, that they are not paying the social fees like unemployment fee, I don't know, retirement fee and whatnot. The Danes, they only pay the taxes. Yeah, they have a higher percentage tax rate, and that's it. And then you are set it up. All the other countries in the European Union, it's a mixture of multiple fees plus taxes. And the question is, how is the Finnish system roughly set up?
We have the mix. So we have a municipal tax that is usually flat. So same percentage for all the taxpayers in that municipality, but it can be different.
Sorry to jump in. Municipalities, you have 300 municipalities as far as I know, correct?
We have a lot. We have a lot.
More than that?
No, don't ask me about the number, but we have a lot.
No, because I had a discussion with a Finnish fella a few weeks back, a month back, and he was describing that some time back, you made changes in this municipality law and you trickled it down to only roughly 300 municipalities. So that's what popped into my mind, because I had a discussion with a friend of mine just a few days back about Austria, and we have 2,100 municipalities. And in Slovakia, we have 3,000 municipalities, roughly. Yeah. And you Finns did something and you kind of trickled it down only to 300. That's why I was asking. It was interesting.
A lot of these were just too small. They could not collect enough taxes to cover the costs.
No, it makes sense to come together so that it's all cheaper. No?
Yes. So we have the municipal tax that is flat. Then we have the government tax and that is progressive. So the more you earn, the higher taxes you pay. Of course, there is a limit after that.
By the way, what is the highest percentage point? 50, 60, 70, 80, 90?
50, up to 50, 60.
Okay.
Yes.
And when you say 90 in Finland, then people get crazy, because it used to be the case in most countries in the West that, yeah, 80, 90, and no one was kind of crazy about it, no?
Well, I remember the Swedish children books author, Astrid Lindgren, you know, Pippi Longström. She had to pay 101% taxes once. But no, not that bad. However, I really want to point out these sums, they included pension fees, healthcare fees, a lot of other fees. That's how we covered the healthcare system, the social benefits, and so on. And everybody has an opinion about taxes, but I have been to many countries. I have been speaking with a lot of people like you have. And my personal honest opinion is that we still get value for the taxes here in Finland. If you get sick, you go to the hospital and you are treated, and you know that you will be treated. Education is free of charge from first class at school until you get your PhD and everything in between. So I believe it's worth paying the taxes when you get also something in return. And also it keeps our society stable, because even people who are in a precarious situation, they don't earn enough or they don't earn anything, they don't have to sleep in the streets. You can always get a roof over your head here in Finland. You don't have to be hungry if you don't have enough income. Still, we have enough social benefits that you will get at least something. And in poor families, children can get additional support so that they can have some hobbies and some more or less normal life. So even if we complain about the high taxes, we get a lot in return. And I made myself a comparison about the tax systems in the different European Union countries some 10 years ago. And actually, considering all the different costs, there is not much difference between the different European Union countries. Some pay higher taxes, but others have higher fees. And when you add all these, it's practically the same.
No, this is the illusion, and this is interesting discussion maybe to be had in another interview about the manipulation that people are succumbed to because or did succumb to, because at the end of the day, I don't care how it's called, whether it's tax or fee or whatever. The big question is, what do I have to pay and how much is it really? Yeah, and this is something people. And this is the manipulation, that taxes are evil, but when you pay it from your own pocket privately, suddenly it's great. But at the end of the day, I don't care because I don't have the money. Yeah. And whatever it's called, it's just, and this is the mega interesting thing, in my opinion, that somehow people are convinced, and they were convinced by the propaganda, that when it's taxed, it's bad. But when you pay it out of your pocket privately, suddenly it's fairy tale and paradise. But I am like, man, at the end of the day, I don't care how it's called, and this is also the sad part about some countries. Let's talk about a little bit about United States or Great Britain, how the system is set up there, that the private out-of-pocket expenses, when you compare it with our systems in Europe, actually more expensive and less efficient than what we are having here in European Union. So as practicality says, maybe the tax is actually a better way to tackle certain challenges because it's cheaper in the end and more efficient. And just, but people don't want to hear this, no?
Yes.
Some people.
Can I say a few words about
No,
our
sure.
healthcare system? Because that's also, in my opinion, interesting. And first of all, to start with, healthcare is free of charge for everyone in Finland.
Sorry to jump in question. Totally free of charge? Totally, or some fees are kind of, because sometimes people tend to, you know, overdo things and they go to the doctor 17 times a day just because it's free. So certain educational charges are maybe not the stupidest idea, so that some bored, you know, grandmas are not in the hospitals like every day.
Yeah, we have some charges. We call them administrative charges. But yes, if you go every day and you pay the 30, 40, 50 euros, then it's very educational. However, if you cannot afford to pay it, somebody will pay it for you. So again, the welfare system will take care. So we don't have the situation really that somebody is so poor that he or she cannot go to the doctor. And medicines, some of them are quite expensive, but again, our system takes care of that. So after a certain limit, you don't have to pay anymore for the prescribed medicines.
What is the limit? It is something meaningless, like a couple of euros, or is it percentage points? So when you are unlucky,
no, it's
and you need
annual level. I think it's 600 euros. And after you have paid,
so you have your budget, kinda the insurance.
You have a balance.
That's okay.
No, don't involve the insurance because they don't. It's not here. We have this national pension fund that also takes care of health matters, and
so
they
one.
follow.
Okay.
Yes, and they follow. So after you have paid 600 euros for the year, maybe you will pay the 600 euros already in March, maybe in November, but after that, then.
And for everyone, it's the same sum of money, because that's not very fair. You know, when you are retired, it's a different sum of money. Okay, it's not, but you know, you feel it differently than some manager who's really earning this 20,000 a month.
Yes, but please remember, when you say not fair, also people with the lowest income are in the position of getting different kind of subsidies and benefits. So actually, you can calculate if you are completely out of personal income, you are not working, and you only get all the kind of benefits you can get, and then you start working and the benefits are reduced. What is the tipping point when it's really, you know, worth working or not worth? That's actually a discussion our government has introduced. But I'll go back now to the healthcare system. That's more interesting. So we have the general healthcare system, the national one, but then by legislation, people who are employed, the employer is obliged to cover the healthcare of these people to some extent. And here, actually, employers are competing with each other because it's also a benefit. It means that at least there should be a dedicated nurse in a dedicated place, so that if you are sick or I'm sick, we call that healthcare person, and we say that probably I'm not able to work today and tomorrow, or I need to go to see a doctor, and so on. So this is organized through the work-related healthcare system.
So you have two systems in parallel. You have this retirement system that is also healthcare, and then you have this private system. Yeah.
This is not yet the private. That's the third one.
So okay.
So this one is paid.
So work-related system. Okay, so let's call it like that. Okay.
Yes, it's work-related. So, for example, if I go out now and I slip and hurt myself, or I get a really bad flu, I don't go to the national system. I called work-related, my dedicated nurse or doctor. I explained the situation. The queue is shorter. I get probably already the same day a time for to talk with the healthcare personnel, and I don't pay for this. Nothing, absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the private system. So we have private clinics with private doctors, and usually the work-related is actually bought through the private clinics. So they are in the same building even, and the same doctors. And then if I want to use the private, whether I have an insurance or not, I just call them, and then I don't have to wait. In many cases, not always, but in many cases, and I have money, and I pay and get the care I need more or less immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So the national one is free of charge, but it's a little bit slower because you have to queue. The work-related is quite fast, very fast. You don't have to pay anything, and then you have the completely private one, and then you pay, and you are like a customer.
When did this system emerge? I imagine that it was an evolution, that it just didn't
It's
jump
an evolution.
in 1 year or in one government period. Suddenly you had it. So roughly describe, if you can, how it came to be.
I'm not able, but I'm soon 60, so I have been in the working life for 40 years. Even when I was a student, I was working, and as far as I remember, there has always been this system.
So the private was there even in the, I don't know, 80s, or because
Yes,
I thought this is something that emerged relatively recently with the introduction of neoliberalism and this privatization okay.
No, to my memory, we have always had all the three of these.
Okay, interesting.
The free of charge national, the work-related, and the private. And mind you, we have one more, and that is for students. We have a student healthcare. So when you are a student at the university or University of Applied Science, you pay an annual fee, and then you go to a different place that is only dedicated to the students.
Cool. Okay, so we are 1.5 hours in, so I don't want to do it too long, but I have one topic I wanted definitely to discuss, and it's related to the unions and to the education that you alluded to a couple of times, and that's exactly because that's what I'm doing in our union, and that's the educational part. One thing is to kind of negotiate the salaries and the worker-related experience in the workplace, but another thing that unions in many countries neglect it, and that's my opinion. One of the reasons, or main reasons why the unionization dropped, is that the workers don't really know the history of unions, don't really know what the unions fought for in the past, not to mention they don't know basic shit about taxations and social things and inequality and whatnot. And capitalist propaganda is very good at kind of skewing the narrative and make out of the people who exploit them the heroes. And, so the question is, what about educational activities in the 80 roughly worker unions that you are running in Finland? Is everyone doing their own education? Are you doing it together, or what's the system set up there?
Some of the education we do just union by union. Some of the education is done together, depends on what it is. And if I understand you correctly, you mean education for all the members of the trade union. At least my union, we don't really have that kind of education. what we have is, first and most important, we have training for the shop stewards that are representing our members at the workplaces, because we want them to be competent.
Intensive, or is it just a couple of hours, or is it like following the shop steward through his kind of whole career and
Yes.
building
So we
blogs
have,
and stuff like that?
it can be, for example, we have the collective agreement for the universities of applied sciences, and they can use up to 20 days a year for this kind of trainings. And that's quite a lot. But if there are two shop stewards, they have to split, of course, the days. But we have basic training, further training, advanced training, and continuous training for the shop stewards. But then unions, different unions in different ways provide and organize additional educational work. For example, my union, we have really a lot of different kind of webinars on different topics. Some of the topics are very closely related to, for example, labor legislation, work life. Some of the topics are more of general interest, like the artificial intelligence in today's society. And it's free of charge, mostly for the members. So they just join and they learn something. But different unions do this in different ways. In the past, but then we go like tens of years in the past, we used to have this kind of like schools for different unions, mostly, if I remember correctly, blue-collar unions, the big ones, where the members could go for several weeks to learn about society, about politics, and that kind of things. But again, times change, and it becomes less and less popular to organize and participate in this kind of activities.
No, that's the challenge today, and that's the class warfare that it's happening, and the rights or the rich people are winning, that they convinced workers that there are no classes, and you don't have to kind of see yourself as the working class person. And then suddenly we have the spike of inequality that is the highest in the history of mankind. So I see it as an intertwined approach, that when people don't know about taxation and what was possible in the past and what was normal in the past, then it's easy for the rich people to convince them that, yeah, if you demand 70 or 80 or 90 percentage points of taxation after certain income, then it's just crazy. But okay, then you look at the data and history and you see that, yeah, it was working like that for 40, 50, 60 years in Western civilization, and nothing bad happened. Actually, it was the other way around. We were better off than we are today. So, but this is something that people have to learn, because if they don't know this, then I'm not blaming that they believe something that just isn't. It's a fairy tale. So you don't do this kind of education on the class consciousness level and work-related struggles from the past, and how it came to be that we are where we are, and the social system didn't kind of happen, that it was fought for by our grandfathers and grandmothers?
To my understanding, no.
Okay.
Because there is also not that demand.
Yeah,
and here we come to the challenge with having people as trade union members, because when they don't know the history that you just described about why we have come here, what the achievements have been, then a lot of people probably feel like, we have, for example, a lot of holidays. I get paid if I'm
capitalism gave it to me. Yeah.
Yes, if I'm on maternity or paternity leave, I get my salary. But actually, it's not in Finland through legislation. It's through collective bargaining. And then we try to explain. Of course, we write in our trade union magazines about these things. But if people are not even members, this information doesn't reach them.
Now, this leads to another question. How is the school system set up? Is the history of trade unions, at least in Finland, explained in schools, in some classes, historical classes? Because this is something, I mean, I had to grow and learn myself and evolve into this consciousness that when I consider my school and what we were taught, then that it was never, ever, ever anything about unions. That I grew up in a society, at least it was communism. So we have this excuse. But when I'm talking to people from Western Europe, then also it's like suddenly it was here. And it just happened, and capitalism is great, and now we have this standard of living that we have, and everything, many things are free of charge because we pay taxes. And when you look in the history and see that 100 years ago, the government taxation rates and GDP wise, it was only 10, max 20%. Now it's 50 plus. So it's really recent history, and people are not aware that it didn't happen by itself. It was fought through and for by dozens and dozens and dozens of really dead people that had to, like, or they didn't have to, but the employers killed them in that struggle. And we don't teach that our children at all in Central Europe. What about you in Scandinavia?
No different. In the sense that you mean, no, we don't do it.
Are you at least trying to introduce it into the curriculum in the schools, because it should be part of our history?
But personally, as part of my job, I do it at the university level. Mm-hmm. So I go to universities.
University is too late. It starts with really, immediately. Yeah. Like, this is us and this is our history.
In Finland, we say better late than never.
Touché, but because this is my daydream, this is what I want, that small children, even in kindergarten, they can learn about this. Why is the doctor here? How it came to be that we live in a society we live in. It's just, it didn't happen, Someone had to fight for it to get it. And that's the problem. That's a problematic part. If we don't realize that it was fought for, they can take it away from us, which they obviously do. You were describing what was taken from you, and people will be willing to sacrifice it because they don't know how it came to be in the first place.
Yeah, but as long as people feel that this is something we just have, and they believe it will remain like that for all eternity, they will not fight for it.
That's the tricky part. That's why I wanted to discuss this, because this is, in my eyes, this is totally crazy. Like, totally crazy that the unions don't do this. I mean, this should be one of the topics and one of the focuses in all the unions in Europe, because, it's just pragmatism. I don't want to have this fight. Yeah, so it's better to keep what we have than to kind of fall back and then have to, like a pendulum,
and start
go
all
back
over again.
That's just like,
what
is it for?
I agree that people should be much, much more aware and understand this. But it's not only what we offer, it's also how to catch the interest, how to catch the audience, that people would show interest, listen, read, and learn about this, if they don't care.
No, I don't think that they don't care. They don't know that they should care. Yeah,
that's well said.
Tricky
that's
part,
well said. Yeah,
that at the end of the day, who wants to work hard and get less? Like, unless you are a masochist. Like normally people wanna have it sweet, not that sour. So
I believe that this is a common challenge for all our trade unions all over the world, how to reach out to people so that we can raise the awareness, the understanding that everything is not just given by somebody, but we have actually had generations fighting for this, negotiating and building up all the things, especially in Europe, what we have. And if we don't maintain it, we will lose it.
And we are already losing it. It's not like it's happening in the future. It's happening now. We already lost so much. When you look at the past, what was normal and what we used to have, or our ancestors used to have, our fathers and grandfathers and grandmothers, and now it's gone, baby gone.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's just one last thing I want to mention, because if someone is still watching and listening, this is important to know. John Maynard Keynes was predicting in 1930, so 95 years ago or 94 years ago, that we will be working 15-hour work weeks. So 3 hours a day today, yeah? And his prediction was right in that sense. The productivity grew actually more than he was predicting. So if we didn't drop the ball in unions as well, totally different world would be possible, because like productivity-wise and wealth-wise, we totally are there. We don't need to work 8 hours a day at all. You know, when you look at the data, half of the work that we do is on consumption. It's not on things we really need to buy, but we are taught to buy them by the advertisement. If the advertisement wouldn't be there, there wouldn't be the need to buy those things, because people had to be pushed in that area to believe and dream about whatever they dream about.
Yes. Well, of course, consumption means that somebody has to produce something as well. So it's workplaces. But I agree with you that
that's the problematic part today. No? I will be having a discussion with a lady from South America literally tomorrow about the environment. And this is where it leads to. Now, when we are consuming stuff we don't need, then the environment suffers. Not to mention that we are suffering, because people are not exactly happier today than they were 50 years ago. Huh?
Definitely not happier. And one thing here, and you can continue with the lady tomorrow, is that probably the world population is going to decline. And for the environment, that's probably a good thing. For unemployed people, on a general level, it means that in the future we will have less workforce. So we really need to see who is working and what kind of work we can offer, because probably we will not be able to do everything just as we do it now. Again, society is changing, work life is changing, people are changing, trade unions should change as well and keep up with all the other changes. And there's a lot to do. And at least we need to talk with each other, or between the trade unions, with our members, so that we can meet the expectations.
Thank you, Daniel. That was last words, very wise, very nice. Yeah, amen to that. Change is life, and hopefully it will be a change for the better. No? That's what we are striving for, so that people don't suffer needlessly. So thank you very much. And
thank you.
Well, till next time, because there are so many topics I didn't touch that why the hell not? Yeah, in a couple of months again.
Let's come back to it.